Welcome back to the Woo Wheels Up Collective. Dish with the Mish. I'm your host, Billionaire Jensen, along with our noble commissioner, Larry Salisbury. A little distraught. Breaking news coming in about the speed bump Singleton out for the year, torn ACL. Larry, how are we doing?
I was very excited to get this podcast started, the third edition of Dish with the Mish. Wow, devastating blow. Not only that, but I go on Fantrax to find host of the post and Nate swarming in like a pair of vultures, grabbing the backup linebackers there in Denver. Can't blame them. I grabbed the third guy. You mentioned they signed a few others, but utterly distraught at this moment, as you mentioned earlier, and as we started off this podcast with the dong gong, everything coming up dongers.
Everything coming up, Dongers. Big matchup this week after disposing of the Eddies in really easy fashion. 50-point win for the big show over my squad this week. And I actually put up a decent score, hurt just a little bit, not as bad as week one. But everything's coming up dongers right now. So big matchups this week, match of the week. We'll get into a little bit later, but Larry, how are you feeling heading in now? I mean, devastating news to start off with.
Very excited to get Singleton, as you knew. I had lusted after him for multiple years. I knew how bad Barton was, having owned him as a commander last year. So I felt very confident in that 100% snap rate. I don't have the words to put to it right now, but Gavin reigns supreme. I will say I've never seen someone so confident coming off the second place kitty as he did last week to win one. He just knew his team was going to put up 300 points this week. Like there was no doubt about it. He came in, he delivered. I'm very nervous about this matchup. I do like my matchups on offense coming into this one here with Gavin, but I'm at least a 2-1 underdog.
Rumors of panic trades being sent out, spammed, Kellen style right now. Like any takers on the bait thrown out there?
I'll just throw them out there since by the time this airs, I will have either made a trade or still be sending panic trades. Sent one to Chase Okereke for Jameson Williams. They're going to see a lot of Jameson Williams in the trades today. I believe I put one out there to Auger for Troy Reader, one to yourself for Mr. Anderson there in Atlanta. Sent one to Host. It was swiftly declined for EJ Speed. One to Sakurada for Mr. Jermaine Pratt, also swiftly declined. I don't know. I think I might have sent one to Town or two. Don't even remember who I would have sent it to him for, but I'm all over the place.
Panic. I mean, you're facing the top team, top points, top record. You guys are separated by 1.5 points on the season so far. Each of you owning a kitty. Each of you putting up at least 300 points once, twice for Big Show now. A lot of good things happening. I mean, I heard nothing but the dong gong all Sunday long, and I could just see him smiling, his little chef hat, just happy, just collecting handcuffs that are paying off. He's dropping Charbonnet for 40 points on me. He's Jordan Mason for CMC, just nonstop, just dong, 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 dong. I'm so sick of Big Show's dong right now.
No one has better dumb luck in fantasy football than Gavin Heaton. I think that's fair to say. A lot of people would agree, but no one, who wouldn't like to have dumb luck in fantasy football? Because all my knowledge, what's that worth? One championship in the last 12 years. So as I told poor Nick Monroe this week, I'm going to give you my fantasy advice, and you should 100% not take it. I told him to sit fool's gold Jawan Jennings in his matchup in another league, and look how much he went off. Like, just don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'd rather have the dumb luck.
We spend all this time in the off season mocks and looking at research. Big Show doesn't pick up anything until August 1st. He just, and he'll cram a pod right before the draft. How he does it, I don't know. Just peeking on cheat sheets, grabbing Sam Laporta last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big time peeker. But man, he found gold in Saquon Barkley early. He's also dealt with a pretty significant injury of losing Pachunks, and his team just keeps on soaring. So one of four 3-0 teams along with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Big Hef, the old goat, still out there,
Still out there.
and the Riverbend Overboys, who are really hearing very little from Nate and Dan so far this year. I mean, is it the most quiet 4-0 team we've ever heard?
Yeah, and the least engaged by his own admission. He's just, I think he's not super into it right now. He'd rather play Destiny 2. He won't listen to this podcast, so I could say anything I want about him right now. He's probably the least impressive, I would say, of the four 3-0 teams. But I mean, to be there, regardless of what's happened at this point, that's a huge leg up in a season to get 3 wins in a league that's very competitive. A little more parity this year in our league than there has been in years past. So I'm happy to be 3-0, even if Big Show takes me down, and he will. We already shook hands on it. I feel like I'm in a good position. Losing Singleton sucks, but you know what? Close the book on that. We're on to Cincinnati.
On to Cincinnati. Speaking of Cincinnati, what's going on with your Bungles?
Sweet Lou Dini. Some people call him Lou Anarumo, our defensive coordinator. Not the most well-known name in the league. I've been out on him for a couple years. He does this bend don't break kind of thing that it does work for versus teams like the Chiefs, which is kind of where you in the Bills, like teams where you're going to need to get playoff victories from. But from a Jaden Daniels who came in, who was only looking to dink and dunk anyways, he didn't really snap off any big runs, but he made the first downs when he had to. Horrible game plan on defense, let our fan base down in the jungle on Monday night. I told Eli was ready to bail on the Bengals forever, and who could blame him? But I told him we can be done with them this year in terms of gearing up, painting our faces. We really get into it on Bengals games, but we can just hold out hope that they're gonna maybe stab some teams like the Ravens and the Steelers along the way because they can play spoiler now, and that's kind of a fun thing to do as a team. But yeah, I'm pretty distraught when it comes to a lot of things right now, including my Bungles.
Bungles home losses to both New England and Washington, correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's those are
Ooh,
facts.
those are facts. Tough, tough rolling there. We mentioned the 3-0 teams. We also have three teams 0-3. So
Mm-hmm.
um, we have Towner, we have Grizz, and we have Rimo.
Remo.
Of those three teams, which has the best shot to recover? Whose team roster you like the best? Who's really in trouble right now?
I think Towner's in trouble. As I look through his team, bottom of the barrel, bottom in points scored, really middle of the road in points against. Love the fact that he's got Hurts. Love the fact that he's got CD on there. When I look at the rest of the guys, and I know he just acquired Mark Andrews, I thought that was a very smart trade. Gave up Hufanga, the safety for the Niners, to get him. Great move. He's got Puka on IR, Jordan Addison, which is kind of a guy that he'll need to flex when he comes back. Beyond that, I'm not loving what I see. The Allen Lazard's going to be pretty boomer bust. Zeke he's toast. He's burnt toast at this point. And Turpin, I know, has some nice like return upside, but Rashad White already getting carved into by Bucky Irving there in Tampa Bay. I think most people agree Irving looks like the better back right now. And then his defense, there's some good pieces there. So I don't know. When I look at the other two teams, specifically Grizz's team, when I was looking at it earlier, I think there's a lot more to like about that 0-3 team. He's got some low end flex guys like Swift that you maybe not huge on, but he picked up Braylon Allen. That's a nice pickup. He's got Kareem, in the mix if he needs to. But having Lamar, Bijan, who we haven't seen the best of yet, Olave, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, that's a nice offense. And he's really fairly stacked on defense with both Chicago linebackers, Aziz, one of my boys, who I might be sending a trade for here any moment, and then Patrick Queen, who I think is going to be better than he has been so far. So I like the balance on his team. Just hasn't been scoring a ton of points. So of the 0-3 teams, I like Grizz to bounce back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit there. I think we both agree that Towner is in the most trouble, in the deepest trouble. I like Ramo's team a little bit better than Grizz. He's just shown it so far this year. He's putting up points. His roster has a little bit more move forward pieces, I think. I mean, not obviously the high end like Grizz with the Bijan, but
Mm-hmm.
I like Gibbs. I like Red leaving out for a bad week. Worthy with no Hollywood coming back. There's still some good things there, and then obviously Laporta with the bad ankle. I think he bounces back at some point.
Yeah, maybe doesn't have like the marquee names that Grizz has on his team, but very playable in 2024. Xavier Worthy, good one. But Cooks is getting some looks there in the end zone. Leggett, I think it's going to be a lot better with Andy. And then he's missing Debo, of course, down there too. So yeah, he's got some pop, and he's been competitive in games to your point. So I think both teams will end up in decent shape. But my favorite right now is Grizz, and not a horse you want to back very often, but I'm just going to try this out for a couple weeks to see how it feels.
Well, you did beat him for the first time in I don't know how long. Your 1-8 record is now two and
It's
eight,
2-7 now. Thank you.
2-7,
Mhm.
2-7. Okay, my just
For the
adding a
next
couple
half
extra.
decade, if I go undefeated versus him, we'll be at 500. So that's not a fun thought.
Some 1-2 teams, including myself. We're looking at 5 teams packed up there at 1-2, including pocket agents who join Mr. Aga and myself off the bus this week. What do we think of the pocket agent team, other than just sniping you on Cody Barton?
Yeah, I think his team morale's down. I think he wanted to come back to this league. He said a little begrudgingly, like we begged him. Really, it was Aga begging him to come back because he was convinced that they'd make a pre-draft trade, which the rest of us knew was not going to happen. But he's back. He's the bottom of the barrel of the 1-2 teams. He always puts together pieces that are good. He's got Bucky Irving. I mentioned him on there, so that's a nice little piece. Rasheed Rice, like for my money, is a top 5 wide receiver right now. He's
Yeah,
awesome. It was a great 5th round pick, way better than my Ridley pick. And with Love coming back, he was not happy with us calling out his starting quarterback last week, Trevor Lawrence. He's like, well, that's my backup. Like, I know, but you were still starting him. So you could have started somebody
he's
else.
still who you're putting in the lineup this week.
Right. Yeah. But he's got Jordan Love in it looks like he might be coming back this week, maybe next week. He's got a decent defense. He won't part with EJ Speed. I didn't expect he would part with anybody. Usually he likes to trade bench for bench. That's kind of his MO. So I knew it wasn't going to happen, but worth a shot.
Unless he hates somebody, he spammed out Mark Andrew trades fast, and Towner jumped on it. I barely saw my
Yeah.
trade offer come through, and I was considering it, but
That's
Towner jumped on it.
for me still a bench offer. Like it's not like
Yeah,
Andrews is startable at
yeah,
this point.
that's true. That's true. Especially coming off 6 targets all last week, like our 6 routes run, not even
6 rounds.
targets. It was
Yeah.
just 6 routes run. Uh,
Gross.
really, really gross. And it's not like Isaiah Likely was taking those either. I think he had 1 catch for under 10 yards last week as
Yeah.
well. So
I think you like Andrews to something used in the bedroom earlier today. What was that?
it's Andrews. If we're talking about it, the dildo of consequence very, very rarely comes lubed, and I think Kellen's finding that out with his Mark Andrews pick right now. Kellen also gets Ken Walker back here soon, and that offense in
That'll
Seattle is
help.
looking a lot better. So call out Aga. We kind of buried him last week. We had the little funeral.
Mm-hmm.
We're calling out his attitude was great, but injuries have hit him hard, and yet another victory over Towner, goes to 2-1. What do you think about August team right now?
It's a lucky. He's second lowest points scored, and I believe he's around second lowest points scored against too. I'd have to go double check that. Nope, he's 5th lowest points against. So sorry, Agon. A little bit of a pretender at 2-1. Obviously, he's got some injuries, but man, all you can ask for is to scrape a couple lucky wins together. I think he's earned that through some devastating injuries. So I'm not mad at it. I think he's not as good as his record is right now, but once his pieces come back healthy, he will definitely be. And if he can go 500 through this nightmare drought, he's in great shape. There was a rumor today that McCaffrey might be done for the year. I don't know if that's been substantiated, but that would
I
be a
was
bad
just
blow.
checking on. I was just checking on that. That could have been just office chatter today. We haven't
Could have
heard
been.
anything official yet, but rumors of season-ending surgery for Mr. CMC today. So we'll see if that bears out and is actually true, or if that's just rumor and talk throughout the office right now.
Anytime you go to Germany, you're either a secret Nazi or you're looking for a nice knee surgery. And I think it was the latter, but doesn't bode well for the rest of his season.
Yes, not at all. The curse of Aga and the Madden curse combined have really outdone themselves this year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Aga, though, one of the notable performances of the week, Jawan Jennings, 52 points this week. I think we all saw that coming. I think everybody in every league racing to get Jawan Jennings and put him in the lineup. Great move by Aga. Great fortuitous, I will say though.
Fortuitous.
I don't think he would have said 52 points is kind of in the realm of possibilities going into this week. But Saquon, 47 points against me for the big show and the Dongers. Just watching him break off that 65-yard run was a heartbreaker. He did have Goddard on his bench and scored 42 points, so he really could have stuck it to me this week.
Also got top score of the year, which is worth $70, but
Yeah.
still in Larry's hands for now.
Oh, big Bobby Spills, big game for him on the defensive side. And the Red Rifle is back. And along with him is my boy Deontay. So very, very happy. Happy trails right there this week. Anything else stand out for you this week or 3 weeks in? What are you seeing? What's catching your eye?
I mean, for the performances this last week, yeah, you hit it on the head. Jennings, who I again mentioned earlier in the pod, told multiple people specifically not to play because he's fool's gold. Thought he was just kind of a playoff guy for the Niners when they need him. But man, 52 points in our league, that won Og of the week, so gets him a much needed win through 3 weeks. And the Red Rifle, yeah, I'm kind of terrified. Former Bengal, we're going into Carolina this week to play them. He's got our number. You like Deontay. It is probably two thumbs up for Chuba Hubbard, my guy as well. He enters the starting lineup. So all in all, I'm probably happy that Andy's back. It opens up the offense better, which makes the running game better, which makes Deontay better. We're all pretty happy about that. The other trends there is that like the top 8 D linemen this last week were unrostered. So when people are going out there and trying to scrub up IDP, I still feel like nobody's really giving DL the credit that it needs besides Big Show. And those performances can be, wax and wane week over week, but to have the top 8 guys unrostered speaks to the potency of the D line.
I seem to be finding the way to play the guy that won't score that week and then will blow up the week after. So, the DL roulette is still alive and well for a lot of us. Not all of us have Aiden Hutchinson, who's just absolutely dominant right now.
Hambone.
Sack City, but man, we're seeing a lot of multiple sack games so far in this season. 3, 4 sacks. Like there's a lot of guys out there really doing some work on the D lines. And I don't know if that just speaks to new schemes and defenses or just how bad offensive lines and how banged up teams are right now in the NFL.
That and we're just seeing these crazy athletes come in at the D-line position, edge rushers, your Brian Burns, your Aiden Hutchinsons, these guys that can just scream off the edge. This Jared Verse kid for the Rams I really like too. I saw him on host roster. Very excited to see where these guys are, but they arguably are the best athletes on the field, these D linemen. And to ask a fat, chunky O lineman who's only been putting on weight for the last 5, 6, 7 years of his life to try to block these guys for more than a couple seconds when you got Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and these guys scrambling outside. I don't know how you don't block in the back every single play as a tackle or a guard, but tough task. I think these D linemen are marquee in the league, and I'm happy to see that translate to our scoring in our league too.
Yeah, now if we just find the right guys to play. So
yeah,
I think a lot of us are struggling with that after Big Show took that run in the top 3 defensive linemen scoring from last year. So
he knew.
I mean, when are we going to just start trusting Big Show? Knows.
We don't get the dumb luck. He gets the dumb luck. We can't take his players because they do poorly. Saquon, you mentioned earlier, OMVP right now, playing awesome. Yeah. And really, that's one of the picks. You've done these in the past too, where it's an obligatory pick. You feel like it's just the right pick. You might not be excited about it, the Joe Mixons of the world, but it was the right pick. He's sometimes the new team, new scheme thing is not what you want to do. I think the world felt like Saquon was ready to break out, unleashed outside of New York. So it's no surprise to see he's currently OMVP in our league, and Hutch, you mentioned earlier, DMVP.
A little bit different than past years. It's usually a quarterback leading the way for offensive MVP, or at least in years past, and it's usually a linebacker leading the way for DMVP. So to see a running back and a defensive lineman, it's only 3 weeks in.
It's early.
It's kind of a fun trend to see as we start this. So you mentioned it earlier. There was a trade this week. We had pocket agents and slumlords come together to strike a deal. Mark Andrews for Hufanga. Middling trade. It's not a needle mover for either team. It doesn't feel like. Talking to host, he was going to drop Andrews anyways. He was just trying to see if he could get something for him.
Yeah.
But still quiet on the trade front. I'm finding myself more reluctant to trade than in years past, and a lot of it is, some people have said it's the app, it's the engagements. I just think it's IDP is so hard to come by this year. It is, you used to have a good, healthy number of 3-down linebackers, and that is really shifting with rotations. I mean, even in Jacksonville, Aluakon, who's been one of our top three linebackers the last 5 years. He's running 80% now instead of 100, and now he's hurt and out for a few weeks. Um, just a different coaching philosophies, trying to keep guys fresh, really rotating a lot of guys in. It's kind of almost the D line is kind of taking over into linebacker role now.
Yeah, you see, like when you go through depth charts and schemes on team websites, you're seeing 4-2-5. That's just everywhere it is. It's 4-2-5 now. It might be 4-3 base, might be 3-4 base, but 4-2-5. So you only have room for two linebackers to begin with in that setup. And then you're peeling one off in passing situations, maybe two off with a lot of these teams like Jacksonville. So DBs have taken over. The fact that we have two DB mandatory spots is kind of depleted the pool for us a tiny bit, just because that was a nice source of week by week filler guys. And they're still out there, but I think that could be a little bit of what we're feeling too, combined with the fact that just not as many linebackers on the field these days.
Really, the only guys playing 100% snaps or safeties and your top probably 10 really good linebackers. There's just not a ton of three down backers right now. I thought it might be just kind of early season, nobody playing preseason, just trying to get guys back in game shape. But we're week 3 now. We should be game shape. We should be ready to go. So I think it's just a change in philosophy. But with that in the DB, and I think one area we probably are not looking enough at is the nickelback, the rise of the nickelback. They seem to be in there kind of taking some of those box safety snaps, getting closer to the line of scrimmage, making tackles there. So, we had some guys picked up uh, specifically as nickels here in the last couple of weeks that have been putting up points to start the season.
Yeah. Love the nickelback spot. It's the Mike Hilton of the world. He kind of brought it to fame, I would say, for us when he was back with the Steelers. He's done a pretty good job in Cincinnati too. But those guys, when they come in there, they feast. Those nickelback corners, and they're no longer just passing situations either. They're in pretty much full-time roles.
Yeah, Kenny Moore in Indy, another guy
Yep.
that's really jumped that. So, to our matchup of the week called the Chunder Bowl.
The Chunder from Down Under Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excited. Me versus Big Show. I think everybody can agree that's, at least for now, the matchup of the week. Both teams 3-0, within a point and a half each other in the all-time standings. One of us has the O MVP. One of us has the D MVP. Aga called for the Dongers bubble to burst here pretty soon. I hope it's this week, but he already shook hands on winning. It's a congratulations to him at this point. With Singleton going down, nail in the coffin. You could see me in the office right now. I'm done for. I'm roadkill.
We've been accused of, under the table jerking each other off in these things, telling you love your teams. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not beating the Big Show this week.
Oh, I know.
Big Show, Big Show's coming in. He's taking it. He's going 4-0. You still have a great team, great roster. You're going to be fine going forward. But
Thank you.
It's the unmovable object right now. I don't think there's anything we can do. His lineup is filthy.
His projection, not that we care about those, is double the donging up right now. It was at 183 minutes ago, and now it's up to 197. I mean, the fantasy gods love him. He's a lovable guy. He lives it's almost a slum these days over in Drummond Drive, Drummond Road, whatever it's called in his neighborhood. A lot of SWAT shenanigans happening over there. But it's made him a tougher owner, and he's a better fantasy football manager because of it.
We've heard rumors of Ben Schmidt's dad just running him through the paces in the backyard all night. Research.
The majority
study,
owner of the Dongers.
Drop.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Schmidt's dad is really kind of leading Big Show through this obviously great run that he's on so far this year.
Yeah, he's got real leadership in the neighborhood now. The guy owns a Hummer. I think he has a Corvette outside. He's got a nice truck, a big red truck. He's leading the neighborhood watch charge where there's an abandoned trailer. There's 2 people getting cops called him in the last couple of weeks, including a swatting. Big Show. I mean, he's got a pocketbook. Why does he live there? Nobody knows.
And we need to find out if that trailer is still there. Big Show, very easy in the trailer, pissing off Ben Schmidt's dad. Big Show trying to curry favor back with Ben Schmidt's dad, just like, hey, I called the cops, like I'm trying.
He can see right through it. Ben Schmidt's dad, he's next level. He might be CIA.
So let's go through the commish picks for this next week. So we started with you and the Dongers, obviously matchup of the week. How about Aga versus defending champ Miss Doubtfire?
I'm going to go missed out Pfizer this week. And at the matchup here, Aga, I mentioned before, got a little lucky with the Juwan Jennings. I like his pickup of Derek Carr, but looking at Doubt Pfizer, I think Dalton Kincaid and JA got it rolling on Monday night. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do. That's just a nice 1-2 punch. He's got the Marvarati and Marvin Harrison down there. He's coming to form. Obviously, you hope that he's popping off because that means Kyler's doing well too. And then the defenses are pretty close, kind of head to head. I'd give Kuhn the edge there, especially with how Frankie Luvu looked versus my Bengals last week. I love Reed Blankenship too. That's great. I have him in Yahoo. Big fan of Reed Blankenship. Hoping Jalen Phillips comes around too. That was a guy I was looking at last year. He's kind of been up and down, coming off a big leg injury, I think is what he had. But I will give the edge to Mrs. Doubtfire.
I would agree there. I think injuries are going to catch up eventually with Aga, and he has had some good matchup luck so far, which great for him. I mean, when you're devastated like injury, all you can hope is good matchup luck, and it's worked out well for him so far. Another 0-3 team, Morningside Muff Divers versus another 0-3 team, Indian Trail Slumlords. Who's going to win the battle of the bad?
Well, per our ranking earlier, I'm going to give this one to Grizz. He's not only has the nice projection going for him, I do like his players. He's got some good matchups this week. Speaking of guys coming into form, Bijan slowly kind of getting there, hasn't had his breakout performance yet. Tough going versus the Saints, but I do think at home he might be able to break out this week. Chris Olave coming around as well. Looks like Derek Carr is finding him more and more. Mike Evans had a tough matchup there with Denver the week prior, but Pat Surtain has not let anybody off the hook this year so far. He held my boy DK down to like 20, 30 yards in week one. Really good. So I'm thinking it's bounce back city for Mike Evans with that shitty Philadelphia defense. I fucking hate Philadelphia. Next to my Bengals right now, it's 1-2 for me. So I'll give the edge to the Muff Divers.
I think Muff Divers get it done as well. Towner's team's in shambles. His engagement's down with the app. He doesn't like the app. So it's taken away from his experience. You know, August saying he can't focus on fantasy football. I mean, the guy's got a great life outside of fantasy football. He's probably just enjoying the finer things in life right now.
Yeah, anytime you got Zeke on your starting lineup, like you're just kind of waving the white flag a little bit. So I'm not a fan this week.
Something's went wrong if you're starting Zeke right now. Like there's been some you've made some decisions that have backfired on you at this point. Next matchup, Otis Orchard's IT department, our other 0-3 team versus Sock. We will sock you.
Looking at this matchup, the edge is going to go to Mr. Sakurada in projections. And although I hate to go that route, currently Ramos is down a player there. He's got Portland Sutton, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley kind of coming off where was he performs? I think he might have had 0 targets in the first half in that game. I'm going to go with Saku on this one. He was one of my preseason top 3. I think his team's finding their form a little bit. I'm really trying to get something done with him on the trades, but he's holding it. You know, hey, Sock, if you're listening out there, let's make a deal, baby. Let's make both our teams better.
Sock and I have gone down the rabbit hole, trade routes a couple different times, not being able to get anything done, but we've had those conversations. I'm going to go with the Otis Orchard. I think Rimo picks up his win tonight despite his filthy record.
Filthier than a nun doing power squats in a cucumber field, if you will.
Next matchup, Pocket Agents versus the Riverbend Overboys. 2 proud new owners of Denver linebackers.
Yes. Wow. This is my dickhead bowl of the week here. And I'm going to go with the Overboys in this matchup. He has a nice triumvirate of receivers there. You could almost put Terry McLaurin back in there. I think maybe you could. Having Drake London, Nico Collins, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, he's really running the Pocket Agents model, and he's doing a better job of it just looking at the matchups. But not to be outdone, Amon Ra, JSN, Ayuk, Rashee Rice, maybe not as marquee names there, but I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt a little bit here. Like that's a pretty good lineup. So I'm still going to give the edge to the Overboys. They're 3-0. I like his defense. I think he's got a little bit of an edge there on defense. Starting Roseboom, that's a little bit of a question mark for me, but Parsons has got to break out here sooner or later. Thursday night, you really don't love to have those matchups that early on your IDP side, at least not for me, but I'm going to give the Overboys the edge in this one.
Oh, I might have to go with the post, hosting the post on this one.
If he gets Love back, is there a contingency?
If he gets Love back and if he gets Walker back, both guys could be coming back this week. Um, yeah, Bucky Irving in your starting lineup. I know he's taken some shares there, but he's still a backup. Don't love that. JSN has been great for a game, and he's been average for below average for two others. So I think you're looking at a little bit of matchup luck there. So hopefully it's the Monday night lights are on. He puts on a show. Nate also though with early season superstar until last week, where Shahid on his bench this week after taking a zero last week after two long touchdowns in weeks 1 and 2.
Think he liked what he saw out of Scary Terry versus my Bengals. If there's one team that's going to give life to rejuvenate a receiver that was getting really no looks before, it's the Bengals. So, Nate, you're welcome. Cam Taylor Britt just basically bent over for Scary Terry, and now he's back in your starting lineup. So, congratulations.
Larry, question: more likely to listen to the podcast, Nate or Dan?
Ooh, I'm gonna go Nate just because he's getting the links. I realized on the prior pod that Dan wasn't even in our chat, in our text thread. So I don't. He feels like a bit of a ghost owner to me right now. Nate hasn't really done a good job of trying to engage him either beyond inviting him to the draft. So I don't know where their partnership stands, but I'm gonna say Nate just because I might actually force him to listen to it this week.
Nate's reeling. His fantasy team, while doing great, he's dealing with the shitty Mariners and their collapse this year,
Ew, yeah.
and also the 49ers. And after that, really terrible loss to the Rams. And Niners are going to say, oh, but our guys are all hurt. No one was there. So are the Rams. And you led that game for like every second of the game until the very end. So that loss has to sting a little bit for Niners fans.
It does. Yeah. Well, we have several of them in the office, including a committee. I don't know what they call themselves, but I made a whole logo for this Niners collective fan base to get together on Sundays and watch Niners games together. I'm assuming it's at a bar somewhere. I'll have to ask Akiba Stevens, but I know there's multiple members of that league there.
Can't be happy get togethers the last couple of weeks.
Definitely not. Losing to a bitter rival in the Rams. You saw Stafford coming on the field at the end. His jaw jutted out, just fist pumping. He was stoked. McVay was jumping around on the sideline like the little boy that he is. And that must have stung extra. I mean, not as bad as losing Monday night to the Commanders, but it must have stung.
Not a fun feeling. Matchup: Chase Towner's top, Aga bottom versus the Valley Old Goats. What are your thoughts there?
I think we both agree this one goes to Hef. I made good with Chase last week. I was very kind to him. I'm back down on his team again. It's just not looking great right now. Steele's down there with Hunt lying in wait, ready to take those snaps. Sam Darnold's questionable. Still love Connor. He's still got great defensive pieces, even with Luquan out. He's about to trade Bobby Okereke to me, so that defense is going to look a little bit different come matchup time. But the old goats, they just get it done. Brock Purdy is electric. Without his top three options, or his top two option, yeah, top three. You can say top three, but I think BA is his fourth option there. He still looked great. He was pumping the ball. He had 300 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He's just a super solid quarterback to have. And then Henry, of course, getting back to form. Tough matchup at the Bills this week, but I like the old goats top to bottom a little bit better. Jamal Williams' last flex is a little stinky. You don't know what's going on there, but as I'm looking through his defense, I think he's got enough to hold up versus the weak offense of Chase Anderson.
Looks like we have Alvin Kamara missed practice today and Joe Mixon. So he has got other guys he can put in there if needs be, but they're questionable at this time. Last matchup of the week: Eagle Ridge Eddies versus perennial Larry favorite Little Ass Boys. Battle of 1 and 2 teams fighting their way back.
Yeah. Well, the Eddies put up a big score last week. Unfortunately for the Little Ass Boys, my preseason favorite, they don't have Tua, and because of that, they don't have Tyreek. He's got Brock Bowers. He refused to trade him to me. He's got some other options on there. Really like how Aaron Jones is playing this week, but the Eddies are going to take it right now. You got Jacoby Myers in there, which is interesting. He looked great this last week. If they keep Aiden in, I think that's aces for him there. Motor, to your credit, nice little bounce back for him. The Eddies put up some points. The Eddies are feeling good. I'm going to give the Eddies the slight edge here. Unfortunately, my preseason favorite goes to 1 and 3 as a result. But Jesse, you can bounce back. You just got, I mentioned this in the first podcast. You got to stay fluid. You got to make those moves. You got to get back in winning contention. You can't be 1-6 by the time Tua comes back, try to make a run. So come to Uncle Larry. Let's make a deal.
Time to make a trade. Either Kittle, Bowers. He's got some depth there. He can make some moves. What do we need to do to get more trades in the league? I mentioned I'm a little trade reluctant. I feel like I'm not the only one feeling that way right now. What do we need to do to inspire a little bit more action in this league?
I think in the past the trading has been really the charge has been led by Aga and Nathan between each other. Little trickle trades, just with how much action they had, I think it fed into everybody else. And for me, that's what's missing this year is Aga and Nathan. You two got to get it together. Both part of the competition committee. We talked about this higher expectations. You two need to get a deal done for your own sakes and for the sake of the league. Make it happen. Lord knows I'm out there trying, but I am not the catalyst for trades in this league. I've always been a top, I'm going to say 3 trade guy. I know for sure 5 trade guy, but we need number 1 and 2, Aga and Nate, to come back to us, please. Let's make this league great again.
And they have, usually they're making trades with each other. They've probably made 5 or 6 trades with each other this time in most years. And it could be the injuries of Aga. It could be Nate feeling less engaged and not liking the app, whatever it is, something's holding them back. And I 100% agree. We need to get both those boys up and moving again.
Agreed.
So along with trades, waivers also taking a bit of a hit this week, a little slower week. What are some of the things that jumped out at you?
Boy, not much. I think this week it's really going to be about grabbing obviously backups for guys that got injured. See Denver linebackers, but Paulson Adebo, $8 to Jesse, decent pickup. I feel like he's always getting action there. The DBs in New Orleans seem to do pretty well. Was a little surprised to see host bail out on Alontae Taylor already, but the DBs are kind of a week-to-week play. Anthony Walker went for $8 to the pocket agents with David Long kind of under. I think he's questionable this week. I don't know if he's going to play. Gesicki, $7 to the Overboys. Then a handful of $5 wins out there, which are fine week over week. I think I'm the new leader in the clubhouse for waiver dollars, which at this point I might need. If there's a linebacker that emerges. But yeah, slow week for waivers, Bill.
You did. You passed me up, and have the lead after I got 3 $5 bids. So maybe overspent a little bit, but got a little defensive depth and add Cole Kmet after McBride's concussion protocol this week. So yeah, not a ton going on out there right now. We need to get some action. We need to shake it up a little bit. We need to get some trades going. We need to get some waivers picked up. We need that woo action. We need the woo action back.
I think it's all things considered. We're another year removed from having a ton of people in the office. That's part of it. We're on a new platform. People are still uncertain. That's part of it. But I think we nailed it earlier. We need Aga. We need Nate to lead the charge for us. The rest of us just kind of follow suit. I'd really love to see both those teams. Both of them are 2-1 and 3-0. Like, come on, guys, let's make a deal.
Yeah, who's first to make some panic trades? Anybody that's in real trouble needs to make a lot of changes to their roster. We talked about our 0-3 teams. Any 1-2 teams that are looking like, they've just snuck by here. They need some action. They need to make some wholesale changes.
I think I mentioned Jesse earlier. He's fallen to 1 and 2. I think he's got enough pieces to make a move without blowing up his team. Still too early through with 3 weeks to really consider anything. You're one of the 1 and 2 teams too. I really think that you should probably move Troy Anderson, not just to me, but maybe me. Kyle sneaks back to 1-2 in a matchup that was close. I think he had lost devastatingly to Nathan the week before on that Monday Night Miracle. So like him to get back in at Chase. He's got the defensive leverage to make some moves there, but nobody's out of it. I mean, the 3-0 teams, the 0-3 teams, 3 weeks from now, this is going to look drastically different with the Donger somewhere in the middle of the pack, obviously, and the rest of us hopefully got a couple wins along the way.
All right. Well, any parting thoughts before we call episode 3?
No, I just want to point out that this podcast was brought to you by World's Strongest Smelling Salts. So we've been using them in the office lately. Really a nice boost to your morning. A high quality ammonia stuff compounds, super powerful smeller, just radical reactions. They're paying us to say this, but they really do work. Go get some Juji Mufu. Smelling smells. Smelling smells.
And if you can't afford those, just go to your cat litter box. It smells exactly the same.
Fair enough.
All right, Larry. Good luck this week in the Chunder Bowl with Big Show.
Thank you.
I wish I could say I liked your chances. King Big Show is King Big Show for a reason.
Unstoppable. I agree. And as always, go Slam.